The human brain invented an idea called a future. No other animal has a sense of a future as we do. And because we invented this idea of a future, we're the only animal that said we can affect the future by what we do today.
As Canadians, we see ourselves as world leaders when it comes to social justice and the environment. But the reality is we're falling behind.
From Sarnia to Athabasca, from Sydney to Grassy Narrows, Canada is peppered with toxic hotspots left over from irresponsible and poorly regulated industrial activities that'll take years to clean up and will cost taxpayers billions of dollars.
At any given moment in Canada, there are over 1,000 boil water advisories, and our own government reports that 1 in 2 Canadians lives in an area with unsafe levels of air pollution.
30 to 35 years ago, we celebrated what we thought were great victories. We stopped clear-cut logging in the areas. We stopped dams that were going to be built, and we celebrated them as great victories. But now I find that we're fighting exactly the same battles again. So in many ways, I think I and others in the environmental movement failed to shift the frame or the way that we see the world. And so the underlying root causes of our destructiveness haven't been dealt with.
Again and again, we're seeing large industrial projects moving forward without the kind of oversight and monitoring that's required to be in place to ensure that communities nearby are protected from the kinds of environmental damage that threatens their health and well-being.
No matter where you live, you should be able to turn on the tap and drink safe water. You should know that the food your family eats is free from pesticides and other harmful chemicals. And when you go for a walk down the street, you shouldn't have to worry about breathing in toxic air pollution.
Imagine for a moment living in a world where the people and places you love are protected, where preserving air, soil, and water quality are among our highest priorities. Imagine a world where decision makers can only move forward on the environment, working toward a future that is healthier and more secure.
My mom and dad were born in Vancouver, raised in Canada all their lives. They couldn't vote because they were Japanese Canadians. Women weren't considered full, legitimate members of society. They couldn't vote. Gays and lesbians were not recognized as having legitimate rights. So we're constantly having our awareness opened up over time. And so it is with the environment.
Around the world, more than 110 nations are doing exactly that, recognizing their citizens' right to live in a healthy environment, but not Canada.
These countries, from Costa Rica to Norway, have decided that their citizens' right to live in a healthy environment is a fundamental human right, just like the right to vote or freedom of speech.
Everything on this small blue planet is interconnected and interdependent. I believe that our ability to look into the future gave us the realization that we could affect the future by what we do today. There's a First Nations story about a hummingbird. When a forest fire began, the hummingbird flew to a lake, picked up a drop of water in its beak, flew back and dropped it on the fire, and went back and forth again and again. And all the other animals just laughed at the hummingbird and said, "What are you doing? It's not going to make a difference." And his answer was, "I'm doing the best I can." Change is possible, but it means spreading the word and engaging others in what becomes a movement.
With the right to a healthy environment recognized at all levels of government, 3 very important things will happen.
Stronger environmental laws, better enforcement of existing laws, and an end to having today's laws rolled back in the future.
Ultimately, it will mean thousands of Canadians won't have to boil their water to ensure that it's safe to drink. It will mean that every Canadian will know that the air that they breathe is safe for them, their families, and their children. And we won't risk something as fundamental as the food we feed our children being laced with harmful pesticides that should have been banned years ago.
The right to a healthy environment creates a minimum standard for all of our environmental laws, meaning that no matter who forms the government in the future, today's laws can only be strengthened and never weakened.
There's already a movement underway to make this a reality. Right now, almost every single Canadian believes that nature is essential to their survival. And 85% of Canadians agree that the Charter of Rights and Freedoms should include the right to live in a healthy environment.
So how do we turn this belief into action? The first step is for Canadians all across the country to come together and work with their municipal leaders to pass municipal declarations recognizing our right to a healthy environment. The second step is for cities all across Canada to lift up their declarations as a model for provinces to follow. This will inspire provincial leaders to pass environmental bills of rights. With so many people standing up from coast to coast to coast, and cities and provinces leading the way, the final step is to see the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms amended to recognize our right to a healthy environment. That's what the Blue Dot Tour is all about. Ordinary people coming together to take extraordinary action.
This is the big thing, the big push. And to me, this is the chance to look at the bigger picture and begin to change the playing field. Things are only impossible until someone decides that they're not. Today is the day we decide.